Welcome to Military Spouse World 1-to-1, a weekday podcast featuring a military family shaker and mover, helping you navigate this amazing chapter in life. Here's your host, Dave Etter.
On today's edition of Spouse World 1-to-1, we chat with Jessica Salter, a shaker and mover in the military spouse world, as she talks about her struggles in trying to get approval through Tricare for a pre-existing condition that could save lots of money as well as save her life. Good morning, Jessica. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Outstanding. I'm enjoying German weather. What's the weather like where you're at? You're in Delaware, right?
I am. We're in the first state. It's probably the craziest it's usually been. We're in 80-degree days, and then the next day it's 60s, and then the next day it's in the 70s. It just goes back and forth.
Wow. We're in the middle of a heat wave here at 61.
Ooh.
It is. I mean, German weather, you gotta love it. It's not as cold as I thought it would be. Winters can get pretty hairy, but, I haven't seen it yet. I've only been here for a couple of years and only going to be here for yet one more before we head back to the States. That'll put me in one place, and I'll be able to set up a studio and be able to continue this work and helping out military spouses.
Well, we will be happy to have you back in the States. Those poor military spouses overseas that won't have you anymore.
I'm sure they'll survive because they're going to rotate back. So you are a shaker and a mover in the spouse world, military spouse world. What is it that you do that makes you so incredibly awesome?
I don't know. That's such a hard question. What makes me me? I can't really say. I like to volunteer a lot. I do a lot with Tricare. I do a lot with the National Military Family Association. And, you get lonely at some bases, and I filled that loneliness by helping out.
I notice you do spouse health care, like you said, Tricare, and preventative care. What is it you actually get to do? Have you made any big progress in that?
Well, within the last year or so, and I am a military daughter. I was in the military. I never had any problems in Tricare, which is shocking because you always hear these horror stories. But within the last year or so, I've been having, it just seems like nothing but problem after problem with my son's health care, with my health care. I said, all right, enough is enough. It's time to take care of this and get the measures that I need taken care of so that way my son can be healthy so I can be healthy.
Well, you were active duty Air Force, correct?
I was.
And is any of your existing problems now, do you think they might be service-related?
Not the stuff that's going on at the moment. For the most part, my health care, as far as service issues, has been fairly smooth sailing.
Right.
I recently, in October, was genetically tested for the BRCA2 gene mutation. I tested positive for it.
So what does that mean?
BRCA2 is a hereditary breast and ovary disorder. It basically says that the gene that is supposed to protect you against breast cancer is not functioning correctly. After a long discussion with my husband and kind of reading up on things, I decided that the risk just wasn't worth, having a great pair of knockers. So I basically just decided that I would like to go ahead and take those preventative measures and have the double mastectomy surgery. It's been nothing but battles with Tricare ever since.
Because you did it as an elective rather than as a necessity.
Well, I've tried telling them it's a necessity. They have said that it is not so much a necessity because of my age. They think that I am still within childbearing years, which I am. I'm only 33, but I'm done having children. I've got a 12-year-old. I've got a 10-year-old. I don't see myself having any more, and my husband has fixed. So There's really no need for me to continue on with the issue. So it's been a little bit of a back and forth.
Right. And people don't recognize the fact that what cancer is cells reproduce, cells repair themselves, and then when it goes haywire and just starts to go crazy, that's what we call cancer. It's kind of a catch-all phrase, but what you're talking about, the gene that helps prevent that, is something that just keeps cell reproduction in check, and if you don't have that, cell reproduction can just go crazy if it wants to.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty smart.
It is. It would take me from a 60 to 85% chance to a 10% chance I've had so much testing done with the issues going forward. It's very hard if you have a certain kind of breast tissue to be able to locate, even with mammograms, even with MRIs. And I happen to be in that percentage that's going to have a lot of hard issues trying to find them. Even if, I'm doing the self-care, I'm checking my breast for lumps, it'll be very hard to see, and you'll come up with false positives.
So in the process right now, though, you've elected to go ahead and pursue the double mastectomy. Have you been able to go through with it, or is Tricare just making it too much of a pain to actually schedule the surgery?
Tricare is making it too much of a pain.
Wow.
They gave me a referral to be seen by a general surgeon, and whenever I went to her, she said, great, we can do this. She gave me all sorts of great information. Of course, she was an off-base provider. And then when we went forward with the rest of it, Tricare said, I'm sorry, no, you have to do this and all these other little steps, which I am all for taking the little steps and getting things done the way that they need to be.
But the minute you get close to finishing out a set checklist, they change it on you.
They absolutely do. And that's kind of just the back and forth. And they're like, nope, sorry, you can't see this off-base provider now. You must go to this person on base and they'll write you a referral. And I went to that person on base, and that person basically said, this is a waste of my time. Why are you here? I can't help you.
Wow.
It's been a bit of a back and forth, gotten to the point where I have contacted my state representatives to say, hey, how can we fix this? Because I should not have to bounce back and forth. I don't want any other spouses to have to bounce back and forth trying to get this preventative care.
Have you encountered any other women that are in a similar situation to you, where maybe they are starting to find lumps and maybe a biopsy's come back with it, even though it's benign, it still has the potential to become malignant, going in for a mastectomy or going to get a referral for mastectomy, Tricare doing the same thing? I mean, is there something out there in the spouse world where you can help these gals or know of that are helping you get the care and the attention, and somebody to at least look and say, hey, this is serious. We need to address this.
Not so much here at my base. There are Facebook chat rooms that I've been in, groups that have been kind of facing the same thing. Not so much a Tricare. It's a healthcare system whole round. A lot of the consensus that we've been getting is, if this is a preventative measure, we shouldn't have to worry about it until it becomes a bigger thing, until it becomes cancer. So, yeah, I've talked to several people on this base who have tried to get the genetic counseling, the genetic blood tests for this, and they've been turned down. And it's been a 3 to 4 year battle for me to even be approved for genetic counseling. I had several of my mother's sisters get breast cancer, and thankfully they're all survivors at the moment. And I had a grandmother on my father's side who had breast cancer and is a survivor. With that being said, if even one person in my family popped up with breast cancer, or even two, then maybe Tricare should have said, okay, we'll let you get this blood work done. Even if it's an on-base blood work. That was not the case. It came down to four people in my family had to get it before I could get approved. Because I was able to get this blood work done, tested positive, now all of my aunts, all my uncles, all my family now has this letter that they can take to their companies, their PCMs, whoever it is that they have, and say, hey, my niece, my daughter, my whatnot. My mom was able to get tested. She tested positive as well. My mom, she has many times gone in to get cysts removed that were benign. So it's a healthcare as a whole. It's not just Tricare. It seems to be a more, if it's just preventative, we're going to charge you more.
That just doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. I mean, if there was not formula for babies, the powdered stuff or bottles, canned stuff that is actually proven to be equal to, if not superior to, standard breast milk for nursing, if that wasn't available, then the argument of you're still in childbearing years, you're still within the range of being able to have children, then they might have an argument, but they don't. Because now, for all intents and purposes, breasts, unless you choose that you want to breastfeed your babies, otherwise it's just an aesthetic thing to keep a good set of knockers. And they do. I mean, how long have we had water balloons?
Forever.
I mean, if you want aesthetics, you have water balloons. That's not a problem. So where's is the concern? I mean, Tricare should be looking at the fact that if you are able to go through a double mastectomy, you're basically done. If you wait until it is a malignant cancer and then they start to work on it, then it's going to cost them an arm and a leg. Are they just doing this so that they can have to spend money?
Pretty much. It's why don't we just wait and see? Military families are only in there sometimes until they're in their 40s, and then, you can get moved on to a different health care. You can move from here to there.
Just not proactive.
It's not, and I don't think that I should have to try to work so hard to get something.
I know you well enough that you're not just going to sit back and, play the shy card because it is dealing with something that others could take as a non-medical issue. You don't get embarrassed easily.
Oh, no.
I found that out last year.
I don't want another spouse to have to go through the runaround that I've been in for months now. There's no reason that another person has to go through this and have these feelings of, oh my gosh, this prevention can save my life, but I have to fight tooth and nail for it.
Have you found whether or not there's any quantity of spouses out that are having the same problems with Tricare, other than in the chat rooms, the support groups?
There has been some. I used to work at the medical group on base. I was friends with the patient advocate. You hear about these issues all the time, and she's, obviously no names, but the issues that Tricare bounces back and forth. There are children out there who are, right now, I know of one right now, there's a child who is trying to test for autism issues. They can't be seen. They're on a waiting list, an 8-month waiting list, because there's nothing else available. It's not just breast care. It's not just kids' issues. It's
mental health. It's aging. It's any number of things.
It is. For as technologically advanced as we are now, for as much advancement as we have today, why is Tricare still operating at a World War I level? That's the way that I put it.
I'm just curious if maybe this can't be addressed from an EFMP level, because EFMP makes Tricare do things.
Right.
And since we're spouses, and guys can have breast cancer too, so,
yes,
guys that are out there listening saying, yeah, well, this is a lady parts issue. No, it's not. It is a particular gland in the body, and guys have them too. Ours is just not near as developed as women's, but we still can have the same thing happen.
Exactly. I'm teaching my children that having 2 boys, they're like, oh, Mom, that's gross. But I want them to be prepared. I want them to be able to, of course, it's not as high for them, but I do want them to know that there are issues with my health that can be passed down to them.
And they can pass on to their daughters when they get old enough.
Yes, many years from now.
Oh, yeah, you think.
That's what I'm hoping.
Fingers are crossed.
Fingers are crossed. I just don't see how Tricare can, in good conscience, just say, well, nothing has happened yet, so we'll see.
We'll have to get some way to get that addressed. Maybe from this podcast, people listening to it might form a coalition to actually light a fire under Tricare to get this changed.
Yes, please do. I hope so.
You may have to become the poster child for it.
All right, let's go out and, we'll get those knockers out there.
There you go. That might be interesting, a Hooters shirt with only one side.
I still have my Hooters shirts from whenever I was working at Hooters, so we can do that.
Maybe so. What's the easiest way for somebody to get a hold of you?
They can always email me, jessicaasalter@yahoo.com, or reach out for Facebook, Jessica Nicholas Salter.
With a hyphen.
Yep, with a hyphen. And they can contact my good friend Dave, and Dave can send them in the right direction.
Send them in the right direction. There you go. All right. Jessica, thank you very much for being with us on Spouse World 1-to-1.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, and thank you for everything you're doing.
You betcha. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Military Spouse World 1-to-1 is a BDE Productions podcast. The views and opinions of the host or any of the guests are not that of BDE Productions or sponsors. Be sure to like this episode and subscribe to Spouse World 1-to-1.